Hello and welcome back to Business as Usual with me, Martin Kimber.
And me, Matt Kenyon. Coming up on the podcast today, it's tricky times for Diageo as the Guinness-maker posts difficult results. But can its new boss turn things around?
Have we hit peak coffee? We speak to a leading coffee machine manufacturer about how much further this espresso-fueled bull run can really go.
Plus, we take you inside the mad pensions rush to avoid inheritance tax. Let's start today's programme with our FTSE fiend, Simon Hunt.
Hello.
Which, outside of a business programme, that would be quite a way to introduce
I always get introduced like that wherever I go.
I won't be clarifying what that means. First off, let's talk about Diageo. They've been having a pretty tough time of it recently. We've had results this week that shows that the Guinness maker has not been having the best sales results, and yet its share price is up. Why?
So, as you say, it's been a pretty rough ride for shareholders of Diageo the past couple of years. They've seen sales slide in various of their different products in various of the continents that they sell their products in. But earlier this year, they brought in a man known in the market as Drastic Dave, guy called Dave Lewis, who is known for his...
Sir Dave Lewis.
Sir Dave Lewis, you're quite right, who has a knighthood for his services for turnaround, at least as far as the market is concerned. So he's very good at coming in, fixing companies that have problems, turning around their fortunes and making them profitable again.
So which companies has he had a route around with before?
So one of the best examples is Tesco, which a few years ago was really struggling. In comes Dave, cuts a bit of the workforce, cuts some of the fat, and lo and behold, within a couple of years, they're profitable again. So this is a similar turnaround strategy that he has for Diageo. He has pledged this week to cut as much as £600 million in costs from the company and make it more profitable again. And shareholders really like the sound of that. The shares went up as much as 8% on Thursday, which is one of their biggest single-day share price rises that they've seen in years. So the market reacting positively. And I was really struck by something Drastic Dave said in the report that Diageo had on Thursday, because previous chief executives have told shareholders a lot about what they call their premiumization strategy. In other words, if we spend an extra £5 on this bottle of gin, we can sell it for 20 quid more. So the margin on it is massive. So we'll just sell loads more premium stuff and that way we'll become more profitable. That's kind of backfired the last couple of years because when people feel the pinch, they immediately trade down to the cheaper stuff and all the premium products get left behind on the shelves. So he said, we remain a business with a very strong premiumization agenda, but by activating our wider portfolio, we will serve more consumers. In other words, he's kind of distancing himself from that premium drive.
I hate activating
Yeah.
as a verb.
Yeah.
May this be the year that we never use that again.
I heard someone say that they interface with customers the other day.
Oh, let's deactivate that.
Yeah. So we've been interfacing with his activation plan. I think one aspect of his activation plan was interesting. I suppose the idea of premiumization, which is also just an awful verb, noun. It's really difficult to make more premium a brand which people already associate at one place in the market. It's very difficult to make Tanqueray feel like a very high-end brand when people associate it with their experience buying it for presumably the pre-drinks they've already bought it for in the past.
And you've seen some efforts by Diageo and other spirits manufacturers where they take, say, a bottle of gin and a bottle of vodka, they add a few milliliters of flavoring and then call it like cherry vodka or something and then charge twice as much. And I think consumers have started to see through that.
It's not 2016 anymore.
If you guys were pre-drinking on Tanqueray at uni, we had very different experiences.
I'm thinking more of a sort of like an early 20s pre-drinks.
Simon, why is broadcaster Steph McGovern profiting from slime?
That is a very good question. So Steph
McGovern, you wrote it.
Steph McGovern famously was a BBC Breakfast presenter, then had her own Channel 4 show. She now co-hosts the Rest is Money podcast with Robert Peston, one of those Gary Lineker and Goal Hanger podcasts. Well, she owns a retail chain called Gootopia, or Gootopia, to try and attempt her accent. That probably wasn't very good.
You're going to get so many comments about that.
And it's a slime shop. So you go in and you have fun with slime. You play around with it. You can stretch it. You can make it different colors. You just have a nice time.
Sorry, so it's like a shop where you just go in.
You just go in, make some slime, play around with it.
It feels like a sanitary nightmare.
I mean, that's the business model, and it's doing incredibly well. Apparently, they've now got a dozen stores up and down the country. They've started a new partnership with Hamleys, the toy store, so you can go into Hamleys now and play around with Gootopia Goo, and they're becoming profitable as well. They made tens of thousands of pounds profit in their last financial year, and actually, it's become so popular with children. They have now begun offering the services to adults as well. So you can now book tickets for what they're calling slime and wine nights. I kid you not.
Good God.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be optimistic about the market and assume this is some kind of fad.
Yeah.
Do you think like, if you had to be subjective about this, would you go to this? Is there an enduring market for this?
I'm tempted. The website describes the Slime and Wine Nights as a brilliantly messy party at which guests can expect vibrant colours, cheeky mix-ins, and even sexy scents. So, I mean, that sounds quite exciting to me.
There's echoes of the sort of the early 2000s kids TV gunge culture.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is a recession indicator.
Yeah, because that came in just before the financial crisis.
Yes.
I think this is part of the transformation of the high street towards the experience economy. You know, people don't just go somewhere, buy a few things and go home. Right. They go there because they want an experience, and slime offers you that experience.
One more thing to talk to both of you about is pasta. It's something that we've neglected. We've covered shamefully little on our few months doing this podcast. So lots of beer,
lots of pubs.
Some slime, quite a lot of business rates and whatnot. But I googled it earlier. It's a £1.6 billion industry. Like, it's massive. We all have pasta in our houses. Arguably, though, it's probably quite ripe for disruption. And we got in touch with a husband and wife team who are trying to disrupt this market. They've co-founded a company, Northern Pasta Company. This man's name is...
Yeah, what is he called, Matt? Matt Kenyon.
His name is Matt Kenyon. So this piqued my interest. It piqued Simon's interest first.
Simon, why did you book this interview in?
I'm really a big fan of artisanal pasta, actually, personally.
Because I think I looked beyond just that superficial similarity, which was a great superficial similarity, and had a chat to Matt Kenyon, as Matt Kenyon. So we got on a call together, two Matts, and we chatted about pasta. And I think we've got a clip from it here.
Probably a lot of it started from naivety. We didn't really understand the food market. We weren't from the food market. So that was maybe quite a good entry for us, because we weren't scared of it. We kind of chose something we loved. We've got a love affair with Italy. We got married there. We holidayed there all the time. We wanted to choose something that was relatively simple ingredients wise, because I think if you can use the best ingredients, it gives the best product, which is basically what Italian food is, isn't it? It's all simple, but made using incredible ingredients and then made to be the best it can be.
Yeah, it is amazing how whenever you go to Italy, you can get like a €4 sandwich, which ends up being like the best thing you've eaten that year. The other big part of your story is that it's yourself and your wife who set this company up together. What's it like being a married couple, but also co-founders and you're each other's main colleagues? What's that relationship like?
It can be challenging, I'm not going to lie. And when we first started, it was more challenging because it was just us two. So we were very much like on top of each other. When we first started, we were both making pasta together. And I think that lasted maybe about 2 weeks. And then we suddenly realized like where our skill set was more so. And also that just wasn't going to work if we were going to carry on. It's challenging, but it's also extremely rewarding because we get to share those rewards together.
Yeah, I imagine it's good to sort of calibrate how your working relationship is going to work when, as you say, it's quite an intense dynamic being entrepreneurs together in that way. Also, so your background is in construction as well. How did you find, I suppose, pivoting over from that world into really quite a different world?
There are quite a lot of similarities because I guess it's working with your hands. It's using ingredients, if you will, or materials to make something different. So I think the practicalities of it really played hand in hand, and obviously inherently machinery goes wrong. That's what, it works until it doesn't, and it does just naturally after a certain amount of time just goes wrong. And so I think the problem solving side of the construction definitely lends itself to food manufacturing as well, because it's your business. You've got to get done. You've got to get finished. So you've got to find that way of doing it No matter how you get there, you've got to find a way. And I think they're both similar things. There's not just one track to get there.
I have to say, I was very disappointed that you didn't speak to him at length about the fact you both had the same name.
I just think we can address that now.
You intentionally didn't ask him about it though for that purpose.
I was actually I wanted to know about the company. I think there is something very brave about people who who make like wholesale businesses like that, because it is brutal. Yeah. You are dealing with a handful of massive retailers, and I say all the best to Matt and Imogen.
Yeah, you weren't fussy about it, and that's a good thing. I think.
And getting onto supermarket shelves is punishingly difficult. So,
and there's great rewards for people who manage it. And yeah, I'll be wishing them both all the very best. And Simon, I'll be wishing you all the very best as you leave the studio.
Thank you. I'm off to play with some slime. I'll see you later.
That's disgusting, Simon.
Now, there's been a lot written lately about the premiumisation of the home coffee machine as coffee drinkers move further up market. The UK drinks around 98 million cups of coffee every day, with around 12.6 million British households owning a pod machine. However, how much further can this premium espresso bull run go? Joining us in the studio is Lee Bonniface, UK and Ireland Managing Director of DeLonghi. Lee, welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet
you. Why don't we start on that question then? How much upside is there still in consumer coffee machines?
Okay, so you mentioned pod.
Mm-hmm.
Pod's about 25 to 30% household penetration. If you look at bean to cup, which is where the premium end's going, you're talking 5 to 6% households have them. So I would say a massive upside.
That's surprisingly high.
What, 5 to 6%?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
I'd have thought that would be kind of 1%, and the pods would be a really vast 99% proportion of that whole market.
Let me give you a stat from Germany.
Yeah.
Those machines in Germany are like 35% household penetration.
Oh, they're good in Germany though. They're precise.
Yeah, they're
I would just spill everything.
My German family spend a good €300 on a machine.
Yeah,
quite.
And is that a beans cup?
Yeah, they put beans in and coffee comes out.
It's good like that.
That's what we're talking about, right?
And you're seeing consumer demand for these high-end machines sort of keep up despite maybe a loss in consumer discretional spending.
Yeah, well, year to date, the market's up 40 to 50%.
Wow.
Right, in volume and value. So we're still seeing the premiumization to better quality machines as well.
Is that partly driven by a sort of cost of living squeeze of people don't want to be that person who's getting several £4 coffees and they're just trying to...
I think that, there's 2 points to that. I think the first one is definitely because if you go outside into London now and you try and buy a coffee, you can be paying £4, £5, £6. If you're adding in,
and there's no
syrups,
subscription in the same way anymore.
No, and if you're talking about adding syrups and alternative milks, and there's things like called a lavender latte now, you can pay well in excess of £5, £6 for that coffee, right? A standard flat white is £4, right? I have one on the way here, £4. Wow. So if you think of that, and if you're making it at home, quality beans, milk, okay, you invest in the machine, it's like pence, right? So 30p.
And DeLonghi make other consumer electronics goods for the kitchen and elsewhere. Are you kind of seeing more of a focus on the coffee side of things as opposed to maybe some of the other appliances?
So that's a very interesting question actually, because this year we're seeing some really interesting dynamics. First one is coffee is definitely the growth engine, right? The consumer demand is definitely there. Secondly, what we're starting to see is things like kitchen machines, blenders, all those type of products also coming back. And do you know why? Because we're now 4 to 5 years out post-COVID. So we saw a massive increase. Yeah, so we saw a massive increase in COVID, and then the replacement cycle on it is about 4 to 5 years.
Did that sort of screw you a bit after COVID?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it did. It was painful.
Everyone already had every appliance. Yeah. We've got a toasty machine now. It's been in the cupboard for 4 years.
Exactly.
An arid 2022 there.
But do you want to know what our hero product of this year is?
Go on.
Come on, you can guess. What is the big thing this year?
Iced coffee.
No.
It's not still air fryers, is it?
No.
That was years ago.
Air conditioning.
Oh, you do air conditioning?
We sell air conditioning units. We sold them out after the first heat wave. Wow. Unbelievable. I could have sold. We ordered like 20,000 units from China. From our manufacturer in China. I could have sold that 5 times over.
Well, this opens up a whole new line of questioning then. A lot of climate scientists are saying these heat waves are here to stay. Britain is now going to be the new south of France. Does that mean you're going to be ordering in a lot more of those in future? And are you counting on that kind of revenue in future summers?
Yeah, of course, right? So I think aircon is definitely here for stay in the UK. You get the odd bad year, and aircon's really interesting. Consumers invest if it's hot early in the summer, right? If we have like a really hot Easter, people buy it. If you have a hot August but a cold Q2, people don't invest because they're going, I'll wait till next year. But then also, if you bring that back to coffee, what you're seeing in the trends of coffee that we've had to adapt our coffee machines to is ice coffee, cold brew. You know, if you look at the stats now, coffee shops out there, 50% of the coffees will be cold.
See, our city editor Simon said he didn't believe that there was such a thing as a cold coffee machine. And I showed him...
He's a denier.
Yes, he was a denier. But then I showed him a listing online of one of your machines. How does that work?
Okay, so there's two things that you have to do. You can't brew cold espresso, right? So what you do is you do it over ice, but we've got technology in the machine where you can brew cold brew, right? Which is a different type of coffee. If you know the difference between espresso is effectively a short coffee, right? A cold brew is something that's brewed really slowly, and you can brew that cold.
And then, so what does the output of that look like?
It's more floral.
Okay.
It's a larger cup, and it's a lot, I would class it as a lot thinner. So it's not the intensity of an espresso, but it's a more floral drink. People drink it with tonic, right? Which is really interesting, cold brew.
That's very European.
And also the other thing as well is we have technology to make cold foam, which is super, super unique. So you can put ice over the espresso and then you do cold foam.
I think we're really stretching what I might be quite close-minded about what I thought a coffee could be, but we're stretched definition of this. I suppose as an Italian company, are there any questions sometimes philosophically about how far can we take coffee? How far can we stretch the definition of coffee? Where do you draw the line?
The equivalent of pineapple on pizza, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's really, really interesting because if you go to Italy, they are bar espresso drinkers, right? They're not into what we're drinking. We're influenced by the US, right? So I call it there's three ways of coffee. The first wave, if you go back 20 years, is the Starbucks and the coffee shop coming over to the UK. So you start seeing Costa and all these things, which is, I would say, average coffee quality. Then you see the second wave, which is specialty coffee. And I think you had Grind in here before and you've talked to them. They're a specialty coffee shop. That started to premiumize people's demand for quality coffee. And now I'm thinking we're entering the third wave, which is variety. Right, so people are demanding taking coffee everywhere. Right, so matcha, people are adding lavender, people are adding more syrups, people are using more alternative milks, and I class that as the third wave of coffee.
We're right out of time, so we'll leave it there. Lee, thank you very much for joining us.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
And finally, pensioners across Britain have been scrambling to avoid being pulled into the inheritance tax net. The pension provider Royal London has told City AM that the rush to protect assets from the taxman shows, quote, no sign of slowing down. That's because of a Rachel Reeves era change, remember her, where assets within private pensions were swept up into the scope of inheritance tax. Our investment reporter, Maisie Grice, has been all over this. Maisie, how worried are people about these changes?
Yeah, I mean, sorry to bring the mood down from delightful chats about slime and pasta, but sadly, pensioners and their families are quite worried about this change. It's coming in April 2027. It's brand new. It stops that IHT exemption that people have been enjoying for so long. And speaking to Barry O'Dwyer yesterday, Chief Executive of Royal London, he confirmed what I've been hearing around the city already, is that this shows no sign of slowing down. In the lead up to the change, people are going to be taking greater notice, really being proactive, and this is going to extend beyond when it is introduced, because more and more families are slowly but surely realising that, oh my gosh, we are going to be dragged into this net, and that is primarily due to frozen tax thresholds.
Have HMRC made a bit of a mistake here in extending the net so much so that people who weren't planning on doing any kind of tax planning before are now actually sort of familiarising themselves with the 7-year gifting rules and stuff like that? People who would have actually paid a bit more inheritance tax without even expecting to are now taking preliminary steps and maybe even losing HMRC sort of income through this.
Again, yeah, it comes back to frozen tax thresholds. That decision has pulled a City M favourite here, Henry's, high earners, not rich yet in particular, into that threshold. And that is pulling in these people who do not classify themselves as very rich or wealthy. They work very middle-class jobs, such as doctors, accountants, and they're finding themselves sort of in this scope, and it is causing a lot of panic. And as you were saying, yes, maybe HMRC have messed this up here, because we are sort of living in an era right now where people are becoming increasingly worried about their finances, about their pensions, about what their family are going to have to do after they die. It's really all is just piling in onto this fear, and that it is growing and growing and growing. And a lot of wealth managers and asset managers are really raising the alarm here.
It's also maybe not the best vibe for the government to be putting across, specifically when in the broader pensions market, the pushes are launch the pensions dashboard to help people consolidate pension pots. People have more jobs across the lifetime they ever had done before. Also, the move to try and consolidate pension pots to make, I suppose, people's earnings from pension payments more effective. Is there a risk that this ends up, I suppose, undermining broader campaigns to get people paying into private pensions?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't think this is going to stop the pension push that we're seeing, because Pension Minister Torsten Bell, who is still in post under Burnham, and his team have, like I was saying earlier, have been ringing the alarm more and more and more that, yes, you're worried about your family, what happens after you pass away. But before that, once you leave work, you also have to survive. You have to live. A lot of people are entering retirement now with funds that do not go beyond, I think the average is around 7 years. Wow. People are living for longer, much, much longer. So that is causing the greater need to have more pension cash. And it comes back to, again, that we are seeing people with multiple jobs who maybe within that earn under the, auto-enrollment threshold. Self-employed people do not automatically qualify. A lot of young people are opting not to save into their pension at all in order to pay their rent, get in the housing ladder full stop, raise a family. So this is a problem.
And that's really corrosive, because the amount of compound interest you're missing out on if you're only starting to pay in your early 40s.
Exactly.
Time is the most valuable resource you have in terms of that interest compounding. Just lastly, Maisie, what kind of physical form are we seeing this take? Is it people taking their tax-free lump sums and potentially giving it to kids for house deposits, or is it to pay off their own mortgage, or is this how we're seeing this kind of trend materialize?
So from what I've been hearing from a lot of wealth managers at the moment, yes, that is a fact that people are considering. I've heard that through conversations. I can't prove it, as of I know it myself, but I've heard it. The thing that we are seeing, and the thing that was proved in today's results from Quilter, another wealth manager, they are seeing a huge push for financial advice, and that is coming from across the board, from wealth managers, again, to asset managers, to independent advisors. People are trying to access advice that maybe they wouldn't have done before to figure out what to do. So that is something that we do definitely know that we are seeing. We are seeing this push to sort of come to terms with what is going on in order to not get caught out when this change comes in next year.
Well, to anyone listening, seek financial advice on this stuff. You never know. Might work out. Might be beneficial.
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
Maisie, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that's just about all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening to Business as Usual.
2 very exciting weekend activities I can offer up to you are subscribing to our newsletters and, of course, downloading our free app. So do them.
It's got everything those expensive apps have, except ours is free. We'll be back in your podcast feeds on Tuesday at 6 a.m. But until then, have a great weekend, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.